What is up, everybody? To Bob29. We are back in the lounge. Make sure to kick back, make sure to relax, make sure to grab some snacks. It is volume number 3 of the Roundtable Rebirth. I have a wonderful table with me here today and plenty of topics. So I'm going to go through and introduce everyone so that you can get familiar with their voice and their name to know who's speaking instead of just being confused the entire podcast. So first up, we have Bunders.
Hello, I am Bunders from New Ministry. First time on the podcast, so looking forward to contributing.
Next up, we've got Evo.
Evolution over here from TNM, and not much to say. I'm gonna be just as confused as anyone else, so don't worry about it. Come with me. And then fix Brutus. That's all.
Yes, hashtag fix Brutus for Evo. I am very pleased to say that I have one half of the Champs chat with me here today, Mr. Lee Brown.
What's up, Bob? Good to hear from you. Yeah, I am here. I'm from Toxic Mafia as a faction, and one half of the Champions Chat podcast, official content creators, and trying to be helpful as we can to the community.
Also joining us today, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Sensei Kreese.
Hello, everyone. Sensei Creeps from You're on the List. Let's get some stuff done.
And of course, last but certainly not least, in each and every one of our hearts, the one and only, the infamous OTC supporter himself, Southside Envy.
Southside Envy from the Nude Ministry. And let's say it right, the original tail clapper is going to be prominently said throughout this podcast. But I'm here against my doctor's orders. I'm out here and still a free agent. My DMs are still open. So tell a friend and tell a friend if you got a faction that you want me in, just let somebody know. Tell them to DM me. I could be yours if the price is right.
Make sure to tell a friend to tell a friend. I was talking with Envy before our podcast here started, and he is very adamant that if you want him, you got to come get him. So that is our crew today with us. Wonderful crew, very, very large table. Very excited to be here. Plenty to talk about in the second iteration of our Zombies podcasts. We're going to start off kind of finishing what we talked about last podcast, which is essentially just discussing how everybody's 20-hour feud went. Just kind of want to get a quick little take on what people did, if they enjoyed the 20-hour feud. It was the original release of Zombie LA Knight in the Loot. The weekend consisted also of the nuclear reactor blitz ticket, where you could run essentially a couple of blitzes for some additional Bailey shards, and if you had Brett, you got that little extra CSS bonus. Curious what everybody thought of the first 20-hour feud. If there's any good, bad feedback that you wanted to leave about it. Did you enjoy or not? Anyone feel free to kind of take a stab at it.
All right, I'll go first. Well, for me, the 20-hour feud doesn't work real well because I work Saturday nights. So the only time I get to feud at night is when I'm on break. So usually I get like one brawl in. But I did wind up maxing it, and I got a decent amount of medallions from the Blitz. So all in all, I enjoyed it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I have the opposite issue because I usually work Sunday mornings. So the more that they put on to earlier in, the better it is for me. Or if it goes into like Sunday afternoon, that's always a good thing for me as well. So I enjoyed it. It was normal weekend for me for feuding. I liked it.
And this game has a very broad global community. We know that. We know some of our content creators aren't. Not everyone's from the United States, right? So,
Right.
I think there's a way. I've suggested this many times before, and I'll say it one more time. Put it out in the ether. Who knows? Make it give everyone a 5-hour cap. Make it a 24-hour event. Everyone gets 5 hours of feud. Find some way to give it to where you have all day to do it on your time, rather than force people to make time to do it on Scopely's time. And I think a lot of people will be happier that way. But other than that, it was just typical feud, typical, nothing crazy. I will say they haven't had any like crazy mess ups in a while, so I love that part.
So to kind of piggyback on that point, Evo, I'm curious. You were mentioning a kind of like a 5 hour on button, almost like turning on a light switch. Is there like a room, I guess, for not only having that 5 hours, but is there a way to get like a boost maybe going on for like 1 hour that you feel like you're going really, really like intense on feud? Or something along those lines, or you think that just turning on the light switch for 5 hours and then turning it off is something someone can do? Or what about like turning the
Yeah,
switch on for an hour and turning it off?
I think the time could start when the match starts, and then it ends when the match ends, and then you have that amount of time, or in that sense, to where that way you're not worried about matchup times or loading times or trying to find a partner or searching for an opponent type deal, so that when the match starts, clock ticks down, and then that actually, in a sense, would people pay for 2 times speed and this and then that would actually make it worth it at that point. It would make the money spent have value, and I think, in my opinion, could be wrong.
Sure. No, I mean that's what we're all here for is dropping our opinions. Envy and Bunders, I know that you still have some comments to go in regards to what you thought about Feud. I'm also curious from everybody else here. Did anyone get anything new from the prize wall in regards to the 20-hour feud? Just a refresher. There was Jacob Fatu shards. There was a sheriff's badge. There was shards of plenty characters out there. Regal included, Vader Time, Jade Cargill. Lots to go around on that prize wall.
But the feud was normal for me. Did not enjoy having to break out Rey Mysterio. That wasn't fun at all. But other than that, I got it done. Got it done in a reasonable amount of time. Didn't have to play all Sunday just to make it to the end. And I got me the new KO plate. And I think I took that 7 pull that y'all advised me against. I didn't get anything. I regretted it the whole time. But it was still fun, and having Brett early is always a joy. Get Brett that first weekend and just let it roll.
Bunders, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, so I actually really like Evo's point and Evo's idea. As somebody who's not based in the States, obviously, it will certainly help with the times to have a flexible window to use, whether that be 5 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever, and how they do that and would be interesting. But yeah, I really do like that idea, so I thought I'd mention that. Last week's feud was difficult for me. I was travelling for pretty much the whole of Saturday. I was on an 11-hour flight, so didn't get to feud anywhere near as much as I would on a normal basis. Prize wall, I don't really remember what I took. I think I took some plates because I didn't. Oh, I took the Tama plate. That's right. So that was new for me. But other than that, I don't think I've got anything new.
Fair enough. So it seems like it was a pretty standard 20-hour feud weekend. Nothing really out of the ordinary for a lot of people. Definitely some suggestions as to what can be done to kind of spice up feud moving forward. I myself was okay with it. It was, a very, another run-of-the-mill feud for me. Kind of hit the max milestone and go about, the rest of my weekend. Not really feeling the need or the urgency to consistently grind away as many hours as maybe some folks were doing. Pretty enjoyable for those that did have Brett. To kind of piggyback on Envy's point, Brett was definitely very good as a feuding character for not only the 20-hour feud, but this entire month. It's been a really nice pickup. I myself ended up getting just a couple more of the skill plates. I believe I picked up another sheriff's badge. And I think I did the 7 pull like Envy had mentioned. Nothing out of the ordinary really there, but it was a pretty standard feud event, I think, all in all. Nothing really to get upset about, but also, unfortunately, nothing really to get too wowed about. The one thing that I do find interesting and a positive for people that didn't have him was the availability of Jacob Fatu shards. I think they are abundant this month. And if there is some way, somehow, that you didn't walk away with Jacob Fatu during his induction month, that you can get him during this zombie month from all of the prize walls and all of the weekends, that you should probably go about doing that however that is possible. They've been on the 20-hour feud wall. We're about to talk about Showdown in a moment here. They were on the Showdown wall. I believe they're also in this Flash feud wall. His shards are abundant for a character that is forget just flat out strong, everyone likes big strong numbers, as versatile as he is in this game. Amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and want to give props to Scopely for actually doing that, because that was a point of contention at the end of last month, thinking about zombies and whether or not people were going to be able to continue through their process of recruiting the cards. So it was good to have the last month's cards, even though it is a zombie month, available throughout the various events this month too.
Yeah, that was
Jacob's a roster changer for anybody. Like, I mean, even if you've got Muda, even if you've got whoever, Jacob Fatu is your acro to go for.
Yeah, he's a big time win for literally any roster. You can be a brand new player, or you could be someone with a 15 million sized roster talent, and he's going to get a lot of use on your account. That'll be it for, I think, the feud, unless anyone else has any last minute thoughts on the first 20-hour feud. Moving forward, let's go ahead and discuss the Soulless One Showdown event. This was Bailey's induction event, the Zombie Bailey character. Arguably one of the best female characters in the game, I think, by a lot of people's metrics, and that goes beyond the 99 MP argument. That event also came out with 2 new skill plates. The Out of Control skill plate, which is whenever you create 6 or more silence gems, increase all of your gem damage by 100% for 1 turn, and the LA Bite plate, which is essentially a yellow version of the Heartstopper and Bubba Specs. Whenever you activate a yellow move, increase your yellow gem damage by 50%. This was also the LA Knight. Oh no, sorry, that was week 2. Was the LA Knight induction event for him in the loot. The Soulless Showdown also came with 450 shards of Jacob Fatu available on the prize wall. Yet again, there were shards of the Showboat Taker, Zombie Liv, and Zombie Sean characters on the wall as well. This was also where there was another Bite Man's armor plate if you hadn't gotten it out of the gate. This was also where you can get an unbreakable crown. My apologies, not unstoppable crown. Another Thomas chest plate, and plenty of the zombie skill plates from the past. Also available was a 100% move damage strap for Bailey herself. For those that don't know, Bailey is very heavily move damage based, not gem damage based. Very curious what everybody's thoughts on the Showdown as a whole was. I will leave a couple of comments right at the beginning. A lot of individuals in my own faction were leaving comments about how shocked they were at how easy this was to max out the CSS competition. It apparently caught a lot of players off guard in regards to that. I'm also curious, what did everybody think about the fact that we had, I think it was 6 tours or 7 tours on Friday, where they were the one node tours. So lots to talk about in the showdown event for Zombie Bailey's induction.
Well, we did the blog reveal that weekend, and I remember going through talking about it and going, "Oh my gosh, like there are so many tours on Friday." But when I saw there, just a note or two, it was like, okay, well, that's not as much. Scopely has asked the player community time and time again, what do you want more of? And the number one answer consistently is tours. Not feud, not boss battle. Tours are the number one thing the community keeps saying they want more of. So it seems like they were listening in that. I personally would have been fine if there was more of them, or the nodes were 3 or 4 nodes per as opposed to just the one, just simply because it was the second showdown weekend in the month, and we have had midweek showdowns and the Gunther showdown and this and that. So personally, I was a little showdowned out. I would have rather us had 2 boss battle weekends or an additional something else on that. But I mean, overall, it was a decent weekend. I didn't get anything that was astronomical. I think I took another couple plates. I think another sheriff's badge, something like that, in the mix. But it definitely wasn't as engaging from the showdown standpoint, just because we had so many of them.
Yeah.
I'll say last podcast I said I was dreading the second showdown weekend. It's always miserable when the faction can't max it. And would you know, the new ministry maxed that thing. I think they moved the sliders or something because everything felt easy this weekend. I was at my company's annual meeting, still getting it in. Shout out to Brett for being the CSS and making it easy to get those points up in the solo contest. Everything was running smoothly. I got 2 souls. I was happy. I was full of joy. And I can't say enough good things about that showdown weekend. Bring it back like that.
I can dig it. I like that, Envy. I really do.
I'd like to add to piggyback off the Lee's point. At least this month, maybe a little bit last month, the midweek showdowns aren't, and I'll put this in quotes, mandatory. It's almost like they put them out there and say, if you want to do them, go ahead. If not, no big deal.
You're referencing to the Gunther showdown, am I right, Sensei?
Well, the Gunther showdown, and then there was another showdown. I think it was this past week where they just put it out there, and it was for prize wall tokens. We're in the leaderboard, and it really wasn't for anything.
Gotcha. Any thoughts on this, Evo? How was your experience for showdown?
Well, first I gotta, as a Bailey mark, as someone who loves Bailey. Again, Bailey, best card in the game. On the female side and probably the male side for my money. I love using the card. It's quick, it's easy. I mean, you don't even need a strap for her, really. I put affiliation on her, some medals, and she's killing everything. And that'll be the same way post I knew MFP. So good job on that, and I'm happy Bailey finally has a card we can use. That weekend again was easy. Showdown. It was just, I think it's been said before in here, it's just a lot of showdown, and it seems that's their go-to when they just run out of creativity. It's like, hey, here's another showdown. Good luck. And then, but what I do like as someone who missed Zombies last year, the availability of the plates that came out last year has been great. Maybe even too much. I have so many of every one of them now. As someone who is a spender, so, and a prize wall hunter, so that's great. And people, if you're missing them now and playing, it's easier to get them, I think, than they have been in the past. And that weekend was no different. The plates themselves, give me a silent gem card that actually works, and then I'll tell you how that plate works. And then maybe I love the Bite Man's armor. I think it's called. I love that for boss. As a boss is my favorite part of this game, so that will come in handy. It did already with Jacob Fatu, the midweek boss.
Yep.
Absolutely crushed. So yeah, I think that was great.
Yeah, there's definitely an abundance of those old skill plates that are available this time around, and I think that's good for, like you mentioned, someone that's in your position who didn't didn't play last instance of the zombies and kind of missed out on getting all the characters as well as all the skill plates. Who does try to chase as much as you can. I think it's been pretty kind this time around when it comes to picking up a lot of that older stuff, which I know zombies are pretty predicated on being able to pick up a lot of what has happened with zombies in the past. So I think they've done a fairly good job with that from that side. Bunders, I'm very interested to hear a lot of your takes. I believe that not a lot of the listening audience knows, and possibly people that are even here at the table don't really know, this is your first zombie event. So I'm very interested in hearing your outlook on this.
Yeah, it leads me in nicely, your comments, Bob, actually. So the Bailey Showdown, I know a lot of people say it was easy to max, and it would have been for 99% of the community that have been playing for a while. For newer players, in most cases, it was really quite difficult. I didn't have Zombie Liv, I didn't have Zombie Becky, who were CSS. However, because I shard recruited Bailey, despite your better advice, just prior to the event, I was able to max it and get some good stuff from the prize wall. So I was happy with how that particular showdown went. Zombies Month as a whole, though, I would say that Scopely have done a really good job in giving opportunities to get older zombies and the cards that you'll see I didn't have being my first zombie month. So I've got quite a lot of zombies now. Still missing some really good ones like Sammy and Liv. Not Becky in your opinion, but Becky in other people's opinion.
Becky's my favorite zombie still, just so you know. I'll die on that hill. I love her.
She absolutely crushes, and I love her too. So don't worry about it.
Yes,
for
all the
and Lee are
listeners,
very much
for all the listeners, I'm not a huge Becky mark. It doesn't mean that she's not a good character. Plenty of people love using her.
By not a huge mark, he means he constantly craps on us. It's fine.
Sorry,
but yeah, no, I've got quite a few of the zombies. I've been able to compete in most of the events, and I think from a new player's perspective, that's really important. I personally don't feel that Scopely does a great deal in looking after new players within the game. Even unless you're prepared to spend a fair bit of money, it's almost impossible to compete. So I think they can do more, but I do think that they've given plenty of opportunities to get zombies within this month without spending crazy amounts, and being able to compete, and that's all that we really ask for.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good point. Sorry, go on, Sensei.
No, I was going to say, I'd like to add, I've mentioned this a couple times in the different streams, but my inability to get zombies from 2 years ago is really making this month a struggle in a lot of areas, because I don't have Orton or HBK or one other one that's off the top of my head that I can't think of. And I mean, I couldn't even do one of the throwback tours this week, and I haven't seen many shards that are available unless you spend a decent amount of money, because for whatever reason, Scopely is valuing those cards very highly.
There's a weird stigma around the availability of certain characters. I still to this day have not wrapped my head around it. So like a prime example, non-zombie related, we're talking about how available Jacob Fatu is. I think that there's no question, and it is without a doubt, that Jacob Fatu is one of the best characters that this game has ever implemented. That being said, there's also another character such as Bronson Reed, who is not a fantastic character, especially at this point in the game, does not have a game-changing trainer ability, and his availability has essentially completely diminished ever since, a month or two after his release. Trying to figure out the why or the rhyme or reason as to the certain availabilities of some characters, I don't think I will truly ever understand. And I think that same logical path can be attributed to some of those older zombies, like Orton, like HBK, like you're saying. I don't know if there's, I guess, an underlying hidden value that Scopely feels the coaches for those characters have, that they are just not making them available with the efforts of playing and not paying. But the same thing kind of goes for Bronson Reed, where it's like his trainer is not something that you're looking for after all this time and all these weeks and months and even years. So I do get where you're coming from too, and I think it kind of, like you said, plays off of Bunders' comments, who has not been playing for 2 years, and may not even think to himself that Zombie Orton and Zombie HBK are 2-year-old characters. He's just kind of from a standpoint of, I don't have them. Whereas you are someone, Sensei, that has played for close to half a decade, if not even more at this point, that it's like, something from 2022 is still hanging and looming over you in this month. It's a very interesting observation, I think, when it comes to zombies. And it goes to show that this month is very dynamic, I guess, when it comes to a lot of players' outlooks on it and how they approach the month. It definitely can be very tough and troublesome at times.
It
One
is
thing
something weird because
Sorry,
as someone,
You
I'm
go.
sorry. As someone who does spend a lot and does do a crazy amount of polls, but I'm looking. As he said that, I went to go look through my roster, and those cards, the modifiers of the traps and countdowns and all that, outside of Bianca and Dom, I don't have many shards of those. So I mean, yeah, they just seem to not make them too super available. Sorry, just throwing that in there.
Nothing to apologize for. Bunders, what were you going to go for?
No, I was going to say is that obviously when people moan Scopely, they like to throw back, well, what's the fix? What would you do to make it better? And what I would suggest in Zombie Month is I appreciate they're trying to make as much use as the previous zombies as possible, because they're perhaps not used as much in the other 11 months as normal cards, but have the CSS as zombies, but still allow people to do the tour with a standard, if it's a technician tour, technician, or etc., just so they can actually play the tour. Like Sensei said, there's been several of the throwback tours I can't do this month because I haven't got the characters. But if I could just use a character and not get the CSS rewards, at least I get the opportunity to play those.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, to put it kindly, especially with Zombies Month. I think that Zombies Month sometimes brings out the best, sometimes brings out the worst in a lot of the players' outlooks. I think it's a month that a lot of people look forward towards. I think a lot of people like the newness of the month. I think a lot of people like the idea that they can get a lot of the old stuff from older months. And I think when that obtainability, like we're talking about with Orton and Zombie Sean, for example, is not as readily available, there is a growing frustration with a lot of the players that do not have those items readily available. Um, it's honestly a very interesting theme with Zombies Month. Um, kind of to just wrap up on the showdown point, I know I left a prize wall video up, kind of telling people what they should and shouldn't get. I, didn't listen to my own advice. I finally caved and ended up getting the LA Bite plate just because I didn't want to not have one moving forward. I did not spend for the Control Freak plate. I was very comfortable in, telling myself that I don't need a 100%er for Bailey. Kind of to very similarly back and piggyback on Evo's point of an affiliation will do just fine on her. She is a strong enough fighter that she doesn't need some excess damage on her, and a strong enough coach that it probably behooves not just me but a lot of players out there, if they have a spare Zombies affiliation strap or Modern Striker affiliation strap that they're not using already, maybe on someone like Roxanne, that Bailey will get a huge benefit from because of how much she will make the rest of your roster better. So definitely an enjoyable showdown weekend event, I think, especially for the second showdown of the month. I think it exceeded a lot of individuals' expectations, even if the prize wall was not as alluring as some others have been. Anything else on the showdown before we move on to the Flash Feuds? Give it to the table if they want to say anything.
I just have one thing I didn't say, Bob, about the two plates. I really thought they're quite disappointing and grossly overpriced on the prize wall. So maybe that's something probably could look at. Just because it's a new plate, it doesn't need to be the most expensive thing.
I can definitely side with you on that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. The LA Bite plate was one that does the same thing as the Hitman, the Sean plate. That, I mean, they priced it way too high. And then even the Bailey's one. I know it's an ultimate, yeah, right, but it's an ultimate that is useful on no one currently. Like, not a card, in my opinion. But so, they overpriced those a little bit.
I did find it interesting that with the two new plate additions, that they were both ultimates but different prices. I did find it interesting that the Bite Man and the Unbreakable Crown, which were typically 25,000 prize wall, were chopped in half at 12,500. I did find that interesting, where it made it more readily available for a lot of players to get those plates if they had not already.
And infinitely more valuable to a roster.
Yes, very, very true. That being said, moving forward, let's discuss some current events. The LA Knight Flash Feuds, the rise of LA we have Flash Feuds going on this weekend. It is LA Knight Shard weekend. Plenty of shards for a lot of players to obtain, yet unfortunately it feels like it's not enough with how many shards he is going to be to recruit at a 5,000 point for recruitment. There are shards also of the Bailey, of the Zombie Brett, Maxine Dupree, Showboat Solo Sokoa, and the Canadian icon Trish in the prize wall. There are also the LA Bite skill plate is back. The Thomas Chess skill plate is back. There is a Piper Power skill plate on the wall. The Bite Man's armor is back as well. The Control Freak and Chelsea's Entombment, as well as plenty of shards to go around. There are straps for everybody that has come out this weekend, whether it's gem damage or, in Bailey's case, a move damage strap. The typical premium skill plate bags as well. There's lots to discuss in regards to Flash Feuds. They have now made what looks like a consistency of these stretch milestones of having the bags with shards in them. It looks like you get one bag of each class and then two bags of each class, as well as leaderboards having bags of each class of B tier shards. The one random side of it is the style of the shards. I believe I said this on the last, not the last podcast, but the one before that, the first Rebirth, that I really think it would be a wonderful addition if you could get each style per bag instead of being RNG per bag. Myself, I was chasing focused Showboat, for example, and I didn't get a single focused Showboat shard out of hitting the 300 million milestone in the last Flash Feud. So definitely felt like it was not a rewarding experience to have to go all the way to 300 million war score with the CSS, with my entire weekend being dedicated to it, to not get rewarded. So very frustrating experience in regards to that. And last but not least, I will mention the other half of Champions Chat has left some commentary in the
I was gonna
podcast
mention it if
live
you
chat.
didn't.
Oh yeah. The other half, Mr. Rusty Graves, has left some comments, and I will read the quote. Please mention the scarcity of Zombie LA Knight shards in this weekend's loot. It is some of the worst that we have ever seen. And I would definitely like to agree. My own loot videos have literally just hit about an hour and a half ago. You will definitely see that I have not been so, I guess, graciously rewarded in regards to shards there. I have done definitely a few more pulls than I would have liked to this weekend, and I believe that I only got about 160 of them out of the loot. I'm not going to go into the whole subject to change thing. As we all know, everything with this game is very subject to change, so sometimes they say one thing, sometimes another thing will happen in the game. It is unfortunate, but it is a part of our game. So lots and lots and lots to talk about this weekend in regards to Flash Feuds. One final thing I will mention, the CSS list for a lot of players, and this is kind of piggybacking on what we were just discussing in regards to zombies being available and older zombies and whatnot. This has to be, in my opinion, one of the toughest lists of CSS as a whole. It requires Zombie LA Knight, Zombie Usos, Zombie Randy Orton, Zombie Sammy, Zombie Brett from this month as well, Striker Naomi, Canadian Icon Trish, Zombie Becky. These are some, as well as Zombie Bailey. These are some of just the absolute rarest characters that we have in our game. And to expect a plethora of individuals to have just ready access readily available to all of these characters is very, very tough. So yeah, plenty to discuss in regards to this weekend's Flash Feuds.
I'll go first on this one, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it, Blunders.
Yeah, so I'd like to pick up on your CSS point, Bob. Obviously, it goes back to what we was just saying, as you mentioned, but I, for the first Flash Feud, didn't have any of the CSS at all, which made it very difficult to get a good start into the Flash Feud. Flash Feuds are typically really bad timing for anybody that lives in the UK. For instance, tonight's Flash Feud 3 starts at 2 a.m. UK time and ends at 8 a.m. UK time. So it's either a really, really late night or a really, really early morning if you want to take part at all. So they could maybe do a little bit more to, like Evo mentioned previously, support all of their player base rather than just the players based in the States. And the CSS outside of Flash Feud 3, I've not got many to go with at all, so not expecting to get anywhere near the the 300 million required for the stretch milestones, but I find it really difficult to get to 200 million in this Flash Feud, I expect.
Definitely going to be a mission.
So on your point about the extended milestones for battlegrounds and getting those shards, like I'm someone, like I said, not to beat a dead horse. I do a lot of pulls. I have a lot of stars for cards. Those things mean nothing to me. I do feud for feud purposes, but here's where I'll counter. Where maybe, how would you feel about those shards that we get in those extended milestones being wild card shards that can go to any class at maybe a reduced rate? Like 80%, 50% of what a normal aggressive card would be to an aggressive card. You know what I mean? Maybe, and then you could build up a stockpile of those to piggyback onto what you do have and take up cards. That might be something that even I would be interested in, just to build up something different. The LA Knight thing with the shards, that's the give and take with the blog. You give out information, and a lot of people feel that it's something. If you're gonna push that info, you should follow the info, and they hit the subject to change. It's nothing new. And I'm going to be a bit of a villain here and say that typically I prefer that sometimes with one card a month where it's a little bit more difficult to get. And to put the caveat on that, this is a zombie month, and so zombies aren't going to be available throughout the rest of the year to catch up on cards. So it's a bit of give and take on that, and mixed feelings on the LNA card being as hard to get as it is, being from someone who spent a lot to get him out of the top 20 2 weeks ago. So that's my perspective on that, and it is a card that is, it's a very strong card. So I don't mind being a little bit difficult.
I'm just curious if next month they're going to still continue to have the pattern of having shards available in various events, or not, because if they don't, that's going to be a pace breaker. And what are they going to, maybe they'll put more Jacob Fatu shards, or maybe they'll put, who knows, new Powerhouse Cody shards in there or something like that. But theoretically, in each of the months, they've had the S tier, S plus tier, and even some of the A tier shards available the next month. But pattern would say from before, we won't see any of these characters again until Spring Outbreak. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's I think that's definitely what a lot of us are concerned about in that regard, is if you don't get them now, are you gonna get them, or are you gonna have to wait till next Spring Outbreak? And then to kind of piggyback on what a lot has already been said in regards to this month, who's to say that the zombie LA Knight character doesn't turn into the zombie Sean or zombie Orton moving forward? That he is just, ungettable, that he is just not made available. That's I'm not going to say a worry, because it's it's a video game, no one should worry about it, but that is definitely a concern, I think, from a large portion of the player base. If you don't get them now, when are you going to get them? And to my knowledge and my understanding, zombie characters are not available on the club. So it's not like, you don't get them now and it's like, all right, well, December will roll around, January will roll around, no problem, we'll get them then. That's just not a feasible option. That's just not going to happen. So
yeah, for this month, I think with cards like this in this situation, there should be an extended forecast. Something, you don't have to promise anything, but hey, listen, we're going to put out shards for these cards in said months, and then what you can plan, because honestly, it's a crapshoot, and then it's a big financial commitment for a lot of people to, it would suck to go hard and then be 500 short and not be able to get it for 2 years. Why would you want to spend that kind of money? And it's a bad business standpoint from them on the people, on us, and it's not fair. It promotes just saying not to go for it, honestly, in my opinion. But I don't know.
It's definitely something. Go on, Sensei.
No, I was going to say I also like to give Evo some support, and I'm not what you would call a big spender or even a medium. I'm a lower end spender, but I do agree that there should always be one card a month that is difficult for most people to get. I think just making everything available to everybody, it makes the game boring. I just wanted to give Evo some support on that.
Yeah, I can see that too. Anybody else? I mean, there's plenty to discuss in regards to Flash Feud Weekend. If there's anything that anyone else wants to touch on.
There is something I want to. I've mentioned this before, but you guys remember? Maybe it was 6 months ago, maybe not quite long enough. There was a 5 week month, and they had a third feud. And that third feud, there was one women's and one men's feud, and I think they were each 16 hours long, maybe. And they even offered perks that you were able to get through a faction contest beforehand. They need to bring that back instead of Flash feuds. That was much more enjoyable.
God, I will say I personally despise that. But that being said, that was also when I was still in my, chase everything days, which I'm very happy to admit are behind me now.
Yeah, I don't even remember that personally myself.
Yeah, they had two. It was, instead of a flash feud, it was two feuds that were essentially 16 hours long. Was a very interesting weekend, to put it kindly. Envy, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Flash Feud.
So everybody's missed out on the joy of this weekend. They gave us the opportunity to get 800 out of 5,000 shards for only $10. And if you were trying to get to that shard contest and trying to get to another gold token or something, maybe you bought it. Otherwise, it's pointless. But not just that, they broke the game. So we can also get 10 medallions in the store for the low of nothing if you can find it. If you can find it somewhere, you can get it. And that reminds me of this weekend. So this past weekend, I was at my job, and we had a gala, and we were playing blackjack. And I was playing with some med students. And we held on like 16 because the dealer had a bad hand. And the med student yelled out, "I want you to bust right now." And of course, everybody at the table felt the same way. We all wanted him to bust, just like this game. We want this game to bust, and we love it. We love it. But back to the feud. The feud's been fun for me. The first Flash feud, got to break out Bobby Lashley. He was a little bit happier than I expected to be. I realized I despise using Randy Orton. The Two Souls is new to me. I don't really like it. But once you get to take those guys out of the lineup and run all the bloodline back out there, oh boy, it was a joy.
Yeah, Flash Feud definitely allows for a lot of creativity and a lot of lineups, that's for sure. I'm going to leave the rest of your comments unanswered. I don't think we need to be talking about what we want the game to be doing like that. But yeah, I mean, lots to go around with this Flash Feud weekend. Lots of CSS. Plenty of items on the prize wall. A very, very difficult time in regards to getting the LA Knight character. Definitely can be concerning for some. Definitely very strenuous for others that are chasing the Shard Point recruit. Does not seem like it's going to be the easiest. I do see where both Sensei and Eva are coming from. That the game can be a bit, I guess, boring at times if you just get everything handed to you, but this was definitely a case of a lot of people feeling like they got sucker punched with the whole subject to change, and it not being as available, even if you wanted to chase it this time around. This is a very tough weekend for a lot of players, that's for sure. Lots to go around with Flash Feuds. If anyone else wants to comment on it, by all means, please feel free. Otherwise, I think I know that Lee has to get out of here relatively soon, but I wanted to see if he would stick around and give his thoughts on the strap filter before we head out. So if anyone has anything on the Flash Feuds, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we can discuss the strap filter. And Lee, I will let you take it away since I know you're on your way out.
Yeah, I got to make sure I'm good. My wife's heading to work, so get the kids for stuff to get ready to go. But anyway, yeah, on the Flash Feud side of things, I really hope that they'll do a make good on LA Knight shards. I mean, somebody did the math in your chat here and just basically saying like there's not even actually enough to recruit him. Now I don't know if that's if you do the 800 deal or whatever too, or if that was what you need to get it done. But either way, strap filter wise, so now that it's public, you know, I can share. We got to see it a few, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks, like a very, very, very early draft of it, and it was pretty cool. It was one of those things. As soon as the early information came out to us that like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is going to be something coming. Everybody freaked out. Goldie has been fighting for a strap filter in the game for so long that the joke is like, hey, Goldie, they finally listened to you. You got this. And so it was good. It's really good setup. I love that they removed the strap gender requirements. I mentioned on one of our videos or our podcast or something like that that allowed me to put 100% strap on my free Tista. So Batista's, you know, going up now too. But even just the ability to go in and just, you know, click, hey, this is, I only want gym damage or gym defense or move, you know, whatever. It you know, just playing around with it early on, it has allowed me to just look through so many straps that I've got laying around that honestly I just kind of started forgetting were there. Oftentimes with the ultimate straps, you know, if it's 20% or something like that, I delete it immediately. But if it's like, I don't know, extra turn or stun immunity or something, I'm like, I might use that at some point, and I just leave it sit there. It wasn't until I could click stun immunity on the strap filter to realize, oh my gosh, I have so many of these sitting around that I'm literally never going to use a single one of them. So yeah, it's a big win for the community. I think the more that they can implement things like that, the ability, for example, to maybe have a favorites is another thing that we've been fighting for behind the scenes for months. Like if you could, you know, have a button where you click certain characters and you can always go back to them. Like if I could favorite my MP trainers, and then that way when I'm searching through the list I can go straight to my MP trainers, or if I could favorite my, you know, my top characters. Usually it's not as big a deal because my favorite characters are usually on the top of my roster and go to, but even still, if there were just even more refined search categories, and I think the strap filter is a great example of what they can do, and I think they really took the time to get it right. I really feel like, you know, it wasn't rushed. It was something that they really thought through, made sure it was going to work well, implemented it well. I personally, I mean, you know, maybe it's just not been out long enough, so I haven't heard it, but I haven't heard anything negative at this point on the strap filter. You know, welcome to hear your guys' thoughts, because that seems like a win all the way around.
Yeah, I think also to piggyback on what you're talking about with the whole favorites thing there, the favorites would be a very solid addition. I could definitely see there being like a very cool feature to like kind of putting a star on a character. That way you can just come back to using that character whenever you need to. I think that'd be a huge addition for a plethora of the player base, the content creators included, obviously. And that would be almost a kind of like what we had with the strap filter before, where it was like very naive version of it, where it was like equipped and unequipped, but it wasn't really a filter. I think that could be kind of the precursor to being able to search the entourage for trainers and coaches if you just had a, you know, like a star on a character that was like, well, the stars now show up if you have a favorites button instead of just a previous button. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah.
That would be cool.
Strap filter. So for those that don't know, strap filter's in the game. You can now sort your straps out, equipped, unequipped. It is very in-depth by class, by era, by bonus, by lots of things. A huge quality of life improvement. I don't think outside of the coin slider that we had and the TP slider that we had, I don't think there's been a better quality of life improvement that has been added to this game. Maybe that's a hot take, maybe it's not. But that's definitely where I'm leaning towards with this one. This was a fantastic addition to the game.
I mean, I'll counter with the 2 times speed as something that saved this game's life. But also, I mean, I don't know if you're counting the one that I love that is actually been so amazing as I'm messing with it is the metal upgrade, raid style. Hit a button and it's done. As someone who sat here for hours leveling metals,
Oh yeah.
that has been incredible addition as well. But yeah, Trap Filter is amazing. It's funny seeing how many straps I had sitting around that I really didn't need to, and now I can get rid of. It's a process. I didn't get it on iOS until late Friday, and I've been busy with other stuff, so I haven't really got into it too much, but wow, and it looks great too.
Yeah. Fantastic addition, honestly.
Yeah, I think the entire update, like everything included, the store upgrade, everything is great. There is one very small negative that I don't like, and what I don't like is the feature where when you're playing a tour and you beat one node and you go automatically into the second node.
Oh yeah.
While that's great when you're doing a brand new tour, if you got to do one of those tasks where like you have to beat, so you have to win 50 matches with some crappy card, you have to sit there and back out because it works every time you do it. So you have to sit there and like if you want to do the easiest node with whoever it is, you have to back out every time and then go back to the match prior, go back in. So it's just that's the one very small negative out of this entire update, which is on the whole fantastic.
Or even testing a card in tour is the same thing. I noticed that. I thought it was just because it happened sometimes before, but now it's every time, and that's got to go.
It doesn't do it if you fight the boss of that particular tour. So, like on a kickoff tour, if you're beating the boss over and over, it will just stay on the boss node.
Yeah, there's the back button will still move you back out to fighting the same character. Well, I guess instead of just the strap filter, we can talk about the update as a whole. There was plethora to go over with the update. I think the strap filter was the biggest part of it. Also, to kind of piggyback on what Lee had brought up was not only did they include the strap filter, but they included the fact that straps are now genderless. That does not go for the specific character. So if you get a Bailey strap, that is still a Bailey strap. That is not a male or female for the class and era that Bailey is. That is still a specific character strap. But the genderless portion of the straps is a huge upgrade. I myself have been able to find an affiliation now for my Sherry Martel. I have been able to find an affiliation after all this time for my Roxanne Perez. I've been able to pick up a good chunk of bonuses across my entire roster just from having straps that have been sitting around. Typically, affiliation is the go-to for a lot of them, but I've also picked up a couple of damage straps too that I had as female straps that I couldn't equip to male characters. As well as vice versa, I now have male straps that I can equip to my female characters. I think that not only was the filter huge, but the implementation of genderless straps was just absolutely magnificent.
I just wish I could have an undo button for all the straps I deleted through the years. That made no sense.
Yeah, every time I got a female Legends strap for a while, I was like, I know I'm going to regret this, but I'm just so mad I'm getting rid of it since there was only one female Legend. And now, now they would have been Legends in general. But I think overall, that benefited the female side of the roster much more because there's so many females that I just could not get straps for, where I had 7 of the male variations sitting there unused, and so I think that was a big bonus for everybody's female roster, especially.
Yeah, I definitely like the implementation of the strap filter. For myself, it's going to help me. You know, like I mentioned before, I have close to almost 850, 900 straps, and to some people that's, you know, a crazy amount, and to others of you out there, you're like, you haven't even hit 1,000, ha ha ha. So I know there's a wide variety of players in this game that have a lot of straps, or trouble with making room for them. So that filter has enabled us to not go burning more IGC for more spaces. To kind of piggyback on what Lee said too, in regards to how many stun immunities he had, or bleed immunities. I mean, I'm looking up strap bonuses that are old ones that are epics and legendaries that I forgot that I had, that are, you know, 20%, 10%, 5%, 3%, that I just had no idea that I still even had on my account. And part of the update with the strap filter comes the selling portion of all of it. Now it's no longer that you have to unequip the strap, unequip the medals, unequip the skill plates. You can just filter on what you'd like to see, and then you can literally sell all of those straps, and it'll give you a cost of all the things that it takes to just unequip it, and it'll unequip all those things for you. So honestly, just a massive and wonderful update that has been provided to the game. Honestly,
Just a personal note, and I don't want to curse on your podcast, but son of a bitch, I just went through and did all that on Monday night and unequipped everything from every rare and epic count that I had, and I saw that, and I wanted to throw my phone through the wall. Son of a bitch!
Yeah, man, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't going to that strap filter. I think on a daily basis ever since they've implemented it into the game.
I got in the past 3 months now. I think my two biggest rants with the game, and as a spender, as someone who spends more than I should, was why is my plate moves limited? At least I have that option now. I can go spend another $10 and be moving stuff again, which I've had many times already. And then why in God's green earth am I pulling straps that are male and female? Why aren't they just straps? And thank God they did this, because it's opened up a lot of the game to for everyone. I think.
Yeah, I think. But before I let Lee go, the one last thing I will say, um, this genderless strap addition to the game, I think, honestly and hysterically, has been more of a benefit and a boon to players wanting to re-engage with the stipulation tours. I think more than any of the changes they've made in the shop, in the scoring, in the methodology, and anything else that they have done with the stip tours, I think the implementation of genderless straps has made it to where players, myself included, now want to play stipulation tours to get those promoter straps that are now genderless for better chances at affiliations for the promoters that they need, whether it's Feud, Showdown, Coins, Boss, etc. Because it is no longer, oh, well, I got a male acro strap that, maybe has a chance at affiliation. I don't really need a male acro promoter. Now it's either or. I think that has opened up a lot of room for another game mode to become something that players want to try and engage with a little bit more.
Well, you're a big numbers guy, right, Bob? Think
Yep.
about it. You got a 50% increase off the bat.
100%. Absolutely. It's a huge win. It really, really is.
Of course, not everybody's going to pull an affiliation strap their first try, Bob.
No, they're not. Okay, all right. Listen, since the genderless update, yes, someone may have been lucky and may have gotten a powerhouse strap and may have rolled into an affiliation bonus, and they may be hosting a podcast as we currently speak. But there's no proof to any of this whatsoever.
There is actual video proof. If you want it, email me.
But Lee, I think I've held you way past your time here. I apologize tremendously. So
Oh, you're good. I'm gonna go help the kids get breakfast, but I very much appreciate the invite, and I love the round table setup like this. It's great to hear from everybody and just all the thoughts. You guys are awesome. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, thank you for joining us. We will definitely see you another time in the very near future.
All right, sounds good.
Have
See
a good
y'all.
one, brother.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
But yeah, anybody else with their thoughts on the strap filter? I don't think I really heard from you much, Bunders or Envy, and we could kind of steamroll from the strap filter into the update as a whole to kind of piggyback on what Sensei was talking about too. There's a lot about that update that got implemented into the game this time around.
Yeah, so the update, as Lee mentioned, has been overwhelmingly positively received. I don't really see any negatives to it at all. I think one of the real shining lights on the update, I'd say, is that it clearly seems, from my point of view anyway, that Scopely are looking at the game and trying to look at how they can give a better quality of life to the players, basically, because the game takes a lot of your time. If you're going to aspire to be a top player, then you pretty much commit into playing several hours a day, and so having any sort of quality of life update is always welcome. Like Evo said, with the whole strap medals being able to update in one click rather than sit for, I imagine Evo sat there for like 2 hours on one belt just trying to get them all to level 15 sort of thing. So yeah, that I would say that is an outstanding update. But right throughout I really like the prize ball update as well. Like having it separate and not having to scroll through and try and search and find it. I really like that. So.
Yeah, I enjoy the idea that they have created a new prize wall tab. I think that's a wonderful addition. I do definitely love the idea that for a guaranteed medal bit amount, I can just go ahead and max out a medal. And even if I don't want to max out a medal, let's say that there's a blue medal or a purple medal that I want to take up to level 6 or 9 just to see where the substats go. I don't have to sit and wait through every single button click. I can just click, level 6 and take it to level 6, or level 9 and take it to level 9. And it's not an insane amount of metal bits either. Honestly, got to give them kudos to providing a discount also if you're subbed to the Strap Up Pass. This was a huge pickup.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of it too, is because the first numbers we saw was like, oh wait a minute, hold on, that's a lot. Now it's, I mean, I remember leveling a medal and the amount I've spent over $1 million easily.
Oh yeah.
That medal. Now it's not even 700,000 to do the whole thing.
Yeah. Definitely a solid update across the board is what I'd have to say. Envy, your thoughts on the update?
Oh, this update's been a pure joy. I've already eliminated 18 straps and got a video pitch for any content creators out there. So I figured out that I double use my Piper plate on Kyrie and Jacob Fatu. And now the straps can go back and forth. So I don't even need to have 2 Piper straps tied up with somebody. So y'all should do budget builds on intergender straps that can be used across the board on several different people of same class and era.
Oh, yeah.
And that'd be great just for budget builds for people that don't have a lot of plate removals and stuff. Just something that you could get a bunch of people and have them be great with.
Yeah, I mean, that's very similar to before they came out with these genderless straps. I had managed to get a modern showboat gem damage strap. and I had a Piper plate on that one. I'm currently, actually, while we're recording this, having a little bit of Feud in the background using Rex with the Pyro plate. I also sometimes put that same exact strap on Maxine Dupree, since she also uses Pyro gems and gem damage. So definitely a huge upgrade in regards to what can be done with that new genderless strap edition. And I will also comment on what Sensei was talking about earlier too with the next match button. I think it's a fantastic addition for new tours. I wish that part of this implementation would include a rematch button or a replay button, whatever that would, be called, instead of it being a back button or just the next match button. I really wish that there was some sort of addition to the update that we've received so far. I really wish that there was a rematch button as well. I understand the idea of obviously having a back button. You can't just have rematch and next. But I definitely think that we're 2/3 of the way there. I think we have the back button is fine. I think we have the next match button, which is great. I think that we're missing that third option to just click rematch and go into the same fight because of the way that the game is set up. And to give an example, we just had an event where we had to win any match with any John Cena. That would be nice to just be able to rematch the same match instead of needing to go next match, or back and then back into the same match. So definitely, overall, as an update, a huge improvement to the game. Obviously, there's still a little room for a little bit more improvement.
I appreciate the effort though with the portal update recently, the switching back and forth between the portal to the game. They really are focusing on delivering a product that's easier to use, which, to their credit, I felt they hadn't done for a long time. So this is good.
Yeah, I think this is I think this overall, right, to piggyback on a lot of people's points here, I think these quality of life improvements and updates and changes that don't require money are very well received by a plethora of the community. I think to your earlier point, Evo, the 2x speed improvement was something that severely helped the game. They do obviously monetize on that, whether it's Feud for the pass or the month for the King of Kings. But these types of things like the coin slider, the TP, slider, and in this particular case, the new update that we're discussing, all of these things, none of these items really require any money. Yes, the strap up pass will get you a discounted price, but it doesn't mean that you need to have the strap up pass to use the strap filter or anything along those lines. I think as overall pure quality of life changes, these are fantastic additions that the game has added that we can all benefit from. And I think Bunders is a prime example of someone that is new to the game, that hasn't played for a full year yet, that as a newer player can still benefit from these types of improvements to the game. I think this is overall one of the better things that they've done, for sure. Anything else that anyone has on the strap filter or the update as a whole?
Yeah, I do want one thing, and it goes along. It's not exactly about the filter, but it's one thing that Scopely has done over, say, the past 6 months that has allowed the strap filter and everything else that goes with it to actually be usable. Is the influx of strap parts and metal bits. They have given us so many of those over the past few months that we can actually do things now with our straps and metals, as opposed to just letting them sit there and have to go farm for metal bits for an hour, which I know I love to do. I don't know about anyone else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the improvement on how many strap parts that we've been getting, in the millions instead of the couple of thousands in some of these events, and the metal bits that we've been having deposited into our account when some of these events come around on the weekend, again in the millions of metal bits, instead of just in the tens of thousands maybe. Um, Very well received, very solid improvement. And I know, again, even for spenders especially, I could tell you that I know it's a big win when that first weekend comes around and they have that loot that has strap loot coins, and that strap loot now drops 250,000 strap parts as like the lowest amount of strap parts, or metal bits rather, as the lowest amount of metal bits. um, it's significant amounts, instead of just the piddly amounts that we have gotten in the past.
As one of those people you're talking about, I have over 45 million metal bits, and it's just, and I've upgraded a lot. So I mean, it is a drastic improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be upset when I would get an ultimate scrap because I know it would just sit there unopened. And now I'm like Oprah. Who wants to open their ultimate scrap? I just go around opening ultimate scraps because I got nothing else to do. It's fantastic.
Anything else that anyone wants to leave in regards to our wonderful update?
Yeah, I did have one last thought, Bob, to add, and that was obviously happy to. Most people are happy to shit on Scopely when they get things wrong, but obviously we need to praise them when they get things right. And over the last few months, I think a lot of the updates tell you that they are really looking at the player base. They are trying to improve the game, and for a game that is nearly 8 years old, it doesn't look like this game is going anywhere. They're seriously investing in it and developing it. So generally, when games are winding down, they don't have this sort of development. So it looks like Champions is here to stay for a while.
Yeah, it definitely does not feel like it's going anywhere anytime soon. Um, let's move on to some more zombie related stuff. So I believe there was a leak in regards to there being a zombie CM Punk. He looks like he's going to be a powerhouse character. It looks like he's going to be the yellow and multiplied gem coach as well. I'm curious not only what everyone's thoughts are going to be on Zombie CM Punk, but this is kind of a two-parter. The blog itself mentions that there is going to be 3 other zombies. If you look right under the first bullet point where it mentions collect brand new superstars, it mentions that 3 more undead superstars await you this October. Stay tuned for more info. The S Plus Zombie Superstar will be revealed in loot for weekend 2, which we now know is Zombie LA Knight. It also mentions that in one of the improvements in October, that 2 more surprise S Plus zombies will be revealed later in the month. So I'm curious what everybody thinks, not only about CM Punk as a coach, and I don't really have the photos here, but he looks to be like a gem damage guy with X breaks and all that type of stuff. What does everybody think about how many superstars we're going to get this month? Is there actually going to be a 6th zombie? And if so, how are we going to get that?
Well, my hope is that everybody didn't work themselves into a shoot. It was looking likely at first until this weekend happened and we didn't get anything new. So there's always a possibility for Halloween. They always make Halloween great. So there's a good chance extra one other than CM Punk come out on Halloween, but subject to change has always been a thing. And these people can't count. They don't do math well, so anything's possible here. And if we're gonna get another moment and all that type of stuff, there's a lot of things that we want that we may just might not get.
Yeah, but subject to change is one thing, but this is a development of an entire poster. This isn't getting a number of shards wrong available on a weekend. I mean, they have to have like this card poster, whatever the hell you want to call it, already done. So I don't understand unless there was a problem with the finishing development of one of these cards. I don't understand where this sixth card is, and unless they're going to do a midweek release, which I don't think they've done since Masters of the Universe Andre.
It's been a long time.
So I do have it. I do have a theory. That might sound ridiculous, but whatever. When we first saw CM Punk, it was on the same kind of token that Chelsea was on, meaning that maybe he was intended to be the free card, or maybe he is going to be the prize wall card, kind of like Michelangelo was with the Turtles, to where we have a 1 week event. It's collect whatever, and then there's a prize wall, and to get a discounted prize wall, spend 100 on this guy, and you get CM Punk, and then we'll have a new card the last weekend. I mean, that's the only thing where I could see we get the 3, or again, 3 looks like 2 in their books sometimes, I guess, and 5,000 looks like 4,800. So who knows?
Yeah, off the back of what Sensei Chris said, obviously subject to change is generally aimed at minor updates, and a whole new character would be a major update. So I personally do think we will see a 6th zombie. I fully expect it to be a female zombie. I'd guess probably Naya. But how they do that, I think Evo could be on the right lines. I think it will be like a 1 week event next week for Halloween, and there'll be 2 characters available to recruit in various ways, probably spending as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So I just found the photos of Zombie CM Punk's, I believe they are level 1 moves.
Yeah.
At like 2-star or 1-star bronze, something like that. So I've gone ahead and posted them in the live chat. For those of you that are listening to this on YouTube, give me just a moment here and I will pull them up on screen. But curious what everybody's thoughts are in regards to Zombie CM Punk.
They got his gimmick name right, Best in the Underworld, unlike LA Knight. How did they not make him LA Bite as his gimmick name? How? How did they not do that?
They had to save it for the skill plate.
I was all in on LA Fright. It had to be LA Fright and then LA Bite skill plate. But never mind. I think Punk is a wallet breaker for probably 50% of the community. For people that don't spend, will spend because it's Punk. It's a great character to bring into the game. Obviously, only like powerhouse males are not brilliant class, so having him there, it's difficult to tell how good his moveset's going to be because of the 1-star bronze that we've got to go off. But I would say that in recent times, all of the S+ tier characters have been pretty OP, so I would expect he would be in that bracket.
Yeah, I didn't notice that was a 2-star look, and if that's 2-star, those numbers they're going to be quite beefy.
I know that's 1-star bronze. That is.
Oh, it's 1-star. Oh, okay, yeah. So I don't know, man. You never know with them. But I mean, according to past releases and seeing stuff like that, it looks like he could be quite strong. Again, though it is not. I didn't see multis. I did see a gem boost. So with that and the cross breaks blowing up the board, who knows? The card itself looks great. I like the the torn gear and everything like that. And the name, like Sensei said, is great. But we'll see how it comes out.
I'd also say, Evo, it's difficult to judge just off the move base because, as we know, with LA Knight, they changed it 3 times after they released him. So,
Oh, correct. Yes.
Envy, any thoughts on our boy Mr. ZM Punk?
Well, I need a good powerhouse. Not saying I'm going to get him, but should I land a good powerhouse, I would be thrilled. All I need is one.
Fair enough.
And obviously the coach completes a set, so that's actually nice. I can't remember the last time they've done that. For whatever reason, they'll release 3 or 4 of a set and then not the other 2. Getting the whole set out is pretty cool.
Yeah, so just to kind of touch base on these moves, it looks like his first 2 moves are both finishers. One is a deal bonus damage per green gem finisher, red MP, 10 red MP. The second move that he has is another 10 MP finisher. It is purple MP. It is deal bonus damage per every X break and then swap a random area into red gems. As Evo said, I'm sure that number will go significantly higher as he goes up. I don't think that 1-star bronzes are even a thing anymore in today's day and age of the game. But those are the first 2 moves. The second moves that we have are the Hellhound, which is the 6 MP green move, which will increase your red MP, and the Bite, which is a red MP move that will not tell us how much MP it costs because, again, he is only 1-star bronze, so we don't really have much insight into that, but we can see that it increases purple MP and yet again is another one of those reversal moves where it will steal health from the opponent and this one will break the submission as well. His 3-star move is the Anaconda Vice, which is a submission that will generate 9 submission gems. Again, this is all 1-star bronze, so I'm sure this will go up. 9 submission gems for 1 turn, and the remaining sub gems will turn into X breaks. Again, no inside intel, but I'm assuming that has to go up to 30 or 40, probably even higher than that, for some damage to leave behind, X breaks, gems. His 4-star move is a green move that chooses green gems.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that's very interesting. Could possibly see the return of a Sheik Plate user. Who knows? There's always a possibility to that happening. The 5-star move is the Welcome to the Underworld. It is another red MP move. Again, all these are 1-star bronze levels, so we don't get to see the MP cost of them, but it will make a minimum of 20 X Breaks gems. Very curious in regards to if the Bianca Braid Plate will be useful on this guy, if the Lion's Gaze will be useful on this guy, or what is going to be useful on Mr. ZM Punk. And last but not least, our 6-star move is Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. It looks like it is a combo finisher. It mentions that it does about 60,000 damage to increase all of your gem damage, and then proceeds to do a finisher and randomly break 20 X break gems. So a lot of gem damage going around for Mr. ZM Punk. A lot of X breaks going around. Has a good chunk of MP gain going around. So there's a lot to be looking forward to in regards to this guy as an addition to a lot of players' rosters. Very intrigued in regards to how it's all going to scale at a higher level. Very interested to see how he's going to make it into the game, whether he's going to be the Halloween character, whether he's going to be the Weekend 5 character. Definitely very interested in regards to Zombie CM Punk. And I myself, I do think that Zombies is typically a month where they try to redefine the mold. And I think that this could be a month that they do release that sixth character somewhere in the middle of the week. I think that there is a strong possibility that may happen, and I think that we may get that sixth character. And as much as it pains me to say it, we were talking with Lee a little bit before the podcast went live, and I think that he made a very good point that they typically try to make the Acro Zombie a character that would never be normally considered an Acro character in this game. We've gotten, Zombie Taker and Zombie Hogan as acrobats before as zombies. And as again, much as it pains me to say it, I think there's a good chance that we end up getting an Acro Zombie Nia Jax as our sixth character.
She's not the whole queen. I'll be disappointed.
She is not gonna be the whole queen.
The original tail clapper and the whole queen.
That would be great.
Oh God!
You see, this is the time if I was in Merrick's stream where I said, "Speaking of whole queens," and then I'd say something of never mind.
But yeah, I think there's a good chance that we get a sixth. I think there's a good chance that it happens during the Halloween event, and CM Punk might just be the weekend event character. This is all speculation. Obviously, as we've all encountered this past weekend with the Zombie LA Night event and the Shards, everything is subject to change. So those moves that I read off for you earlier and also shared on the screen for those of you that are watching on YouTube after the podcast, and for those of you that are in the live chat right now, everything that did get posted is all obviously subject to change. For all we know, these might even just be placeholder moves, and they might not even make the game. No one really and truly knows. But it does look very interesting. I think Evo's point that they finally completed a set of coaches, as silly as that might seem to some players and some folks out there, that is a very real thing that for some reason they just don't complete the set. I could not tell you why, but I am very happy that they are going to do that. I don't know that there's that much of a need for yellow and multi personally. I think that we have a plethora of good multi-gem characters in the game that don't need to utilize that type of bonus. And the yellow gems are typically a huge benefit attributed by the Piper Plate. So I don't know that there's going to be such a massive need for that as a coach, but it is definitely very good to see that they have completed the set.
Well, you mean you don't need to get Regal to hit 1 billion damage?
Listen, it's not gonna hurt. All right, I definitely love my Regal, but
the yellows I think will be used for Miz, maybe. Not that it matters, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that one of the things I noticed is now this is the 3rd year in a row that they've made all of their new zombie releases, their coaches or trainers or whatever, all theme based. Like 2 years ago, they had all of the +3 gem generate, and then last year was 30% color, 60% special gem, and now they finished off all of the multi gems this year. I think that's a good thing.
I definitely have to agree. It has me thinking about if there is a 6th character, what is that entourage gonna be? I'm very curious.
If I had to guess, because looking at Roman and how he was released, kind of like surprised and what the hell is he doing here now? What about a multi-down,
What, like a universal multi-down?
Yeah.
There's a good
Something
chance.
like that.
There's a good chance. I could also see there being precedence for skipping the color turn damage and then just making it a plus multi.
Oh,
just
yeah. Okay.
100% multi-gem damage just for the big bonus.
I'd love to see him go the other way and give a debuff or even a counter as an entourage. Something like really out of the box.
Yeah, I think that I think this leaves a lot open to interpretation in regards to what we may or may not see. I think that's going to be it in regards to our speculation portion of the podcast here, unless anyone else has anything they want to say in regards to the sixth possible zombie or Mr. Zombie Punk. And the last thing that I wanted to discuss, which I guess this is maybe more of a selfish point for me, but I'm very curious. So, the OTC, the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, obviously made his debut during the Bloodline month. There is a lot of speculation and rumors going around that he will be joining the club store very soon. Whether it is the start of the next month, whether it's the first of the month, what the exact date will be, I have zero intel on. All I know is that there is a lot of hype surrounding the OTC possibly joining the club store. That being said, the very top end of the club store typically costs somewhere around 700,000 club currency. That is a lot of currency. That is not something that you just casually stroll by and figure out. So I was curious and I was looking more into it, figuring that if he makes the store and when he hits the store, that he is not going to be 99 MP any longer. And this all came up because I'm in a position that I have enough coins to possibly get him if he is 700k. And I was thinking about it in a sense of, well, I've been able to get Acro Snoop for 700k too, but I've just never clicked the button. There hasn't really been a need. My Acro class is fine. My Striker class is fine, is not a problem. I'm sure you can see by... for those of you on YouTube, the gameplay that's going on with Zombie Sammy, there is no issues with strikers right now. But I am very curious in regards to what a lot of you out there are thinking in regards to OTC. If you had 700,000 club coin currency, would he be the first guy that you wanted to get off of that wall? And why? So my thinking was that there's a plethora of other characters like, you know, the plus 4 MP, like Roxanne and Braun Breaker and Mello and all those guys that have wonderful trainers and coaches. OTC does not really have a fantastic training ability. He's really just a fighter. And so it really had me thinking, with how much everyone's hyping him up, and how much people are really looking forward to him hitting the store so they can just immediately get him on day one. Am I overthinking this by thinking that maybe I shouldn't get him? Am I underselling him? And again, this isn't me saying I think that he's a bad character, but I'm trying to gauge, is it really worth it for OTC?
I'll start. Let me do my heel turn real fast. You mean not everybody got OTC for free like I did? I mean, what happened? Like, I thought everybody got them for free. I guess it was just me. All right, no. But I think it's roster dependent. I mean, there are a ton of people out there who could use him as their top fighting striker, and you know his training ability is good on Showboat solo and nobody else, but I do think a lot of people could benefit greatly from having him. With that said, if you're like me and you got him for free, you're going to spend your 700k on Sherry Martel, who I still do not have, and it's so frustrating.
She's very good. So I guess before we move on to other, I guess, comments in regards to the Sensei, if you didn't get OTC out of the bag pull or for free or whatever it is that you did to get him that way, would you, on your first 700k, take OTC or Sherry Martel?
Oh, it for me. It would be Sherry, 100%, because she affects so many other cards. Whereas, as long as you have a decent striker, which I have, and right now I can't think because 50-year-old brain sometimes doesn't work. But yeah, I'm definitely looking to get people out of that store who affect my roster as much as possible. I want to get as much bang for my buck out of it. Not that I'm anywhere near 700,000. I think I'm
Sure.
at like just under 400,000 because I have spent on upgrading Carmelo because just like you, I don't have any focus showboat shards. So it was worth it for me to spend I think it was just under 100,000 to make him 6-star bronze.
Gotcha. Okay. Very, very cool take. So if you didn't have OTC, you'd take Sherry. All right.
So
I see there's plenty of people that have unmuted and can't wait to get their thoughts in on this one.
Well, I'd say I suggested this as a topic because it was a really interesting conversation that we had in the voice chat in the faction. Myself, you, and Evo were talking, and obviously this was based around your roster, which is a very different question to most of the rest of the game, let's say. But I couldn't believe that you would have 700k available and you wouldn't take him based on the fact that you only needed 2 cards in the store. I just didn't understand what you was waiting for. I thought about it a little bit more since we had the conversation, and I do get it to a certain extent. And obviously, like you say, you're not short of a striker, and he is fairly pigeonholed as just a fighter, so he's not going to massively impact your feudability or anything like that. So for me, I would take him. If he's 700k, I'm not a million miles from that at the minute, and I would save taking and take him ahead of taking what is my current plan to take Roxanne and Bron.
So you would take OTC over Roxanne and Braun?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Really?
That I wouldn't. I mean, personally, I wouldn't suggest that myself. Right? I'm gonna take cards that are gonna, especially MP cards, like that. Personally, listen, that's a personal choice. But for me, OTC, I look at the club store, and I have 3 cards available right now. To have the old school, the powerhouse Randy Macho Man Savage, Trish Stratus, and Muda. Which I'm going to take a second to talk to Scopely directly. Where the fuck are the Muda shards? Cover your ears, folks. Sorry. He's been. Where are they? They were supposed to be there this week. Anyway, so if OTC does come, and I do have 1 million points currently, as you can tell by the leaderboards the last couple weeks, I chased him when they said he was in the loot and wasn't. But it's another gripe I have. I'm gonna take OTC. He's I know right now it doesn't look like it's a great coachability. Bailey proved that they still have move damage in mind, and when the next card comes, that's yellow move damage. 100% as a coach doesn't exist other than OTC. He is the pyro counter, which in this game currently, defense doesn't mean squat, but it is cool that a lot of cards that are built around pyros and the Piper plate and this massive push that we've had around these cards, he is the one that's going to really screw those plans up too. So I see a lot of value in him as a modern striker. What do you have now that's not turn 1? I mean, that is turn 1 without a line bonus, and it's not much without certain like maybe what's his name, Mr. Perfect. So I see value in him being a turn 1 card that will win now and moving forward. So yeah, I see a lot of positives with him, and I think I would definitely take him in my circumstance. If I could take him on with abundance and say, in your circumstance, I would really consider it again and think about taking the dual MP trainers over Roman very easily.
So Roman, I believe, is a trainer, not a coach. And so he ties with, I think it's Trickster Asuka for the 100% move damage.
Oh, he's a trainer. I did not know. Okay, I thought he was a coach.
No, if he was a coach, I would absolutely not be complaining about his entourage whatsoever. That would be massive beyond belief. And I'd probably be taking up Showboat solo if that was the case, to be 100% honest with you. But yeah, I definitely, I think the only other modern striker that fits the bill right now is Zombie Sammy. But he needs a lot of bells and whistles. Like, he needs Roxanne, he needs The Moment, he needs, Tyler Breeze and Santa. If you don't want to include needing a middle lane and running that green and red setup, I am obviously using him in the top lane right now as we speak in Feud. But that is also, to your point, with a top lane bonus. That is not something that is just a guarantee. So definitely a big difference maker for a lot of players out there when it comes to modern striker for sure. So I can 100% see the value in getting him as a fighter right now. And yes, in regards to my own roster, not a necessity per se, but I can also see right from Bunders' standpoint where it's like, if I only need 2 characters, why not? Right? He was a 0 shard recruit outside of spending big boy money on the portal, which was not happening for me at all. That is just way too much money. And if he hits the store, it'll essentially be kind of a fruit of my labors type of endeavor where everything else that I've spent on will result in getting him. So very, very interesting conversation here. I do have to say that, yeah, I think for sure, Bunders, you should be getting the MP trainers instead of the one fighter. I think that you have enough fighters as is who can make do without too much of a fuss, to put it kindly. But yeah, very, very interesting topics to discuss here today. If anybody else has any thoughts on OTC, we can pile those on, and aside from that, we can start wrapping up the podcast.
Well, I got something to say about the original tail clapper.
Of course.
Anytime you can get a character that can clap them cheeks, you do it. So, I mean, my striker game is kind of weak, so I would definitely take him just because my strikers are weak. I don't have anybody. I think the only guy I have gold as striker is The Rock. So, OTC would be great in that capacity, and he's a chaotic striker.
Stop. What? Oh, the final boss. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, final boss. Yeah.
You were thinking Blue Chipper.
Oh my god.
I'm not that crazy. He's no gender, I'll tell you that.
he's no gender ball.
Oh, I love you. Oh god.
Well, yeah, I think unless anyone else has anything to say, I think that'll be it for this podcast. It was a very fun one, a very enjoyable one. We got to talk about a lot of topics. Definitely a huge win in regards to the recent strap filter that has gotten added, as well as the entire update as a whole. There's definitely a few things and few tweaks like we talked about that would be great, such as adding a replay button. I know a lot of people haven't really spoken about it, but accessing the medals and skill plates nowadays, there's no simple button for that like there used to be when you got to click on a character that didn't have a strap equipped. That was very simple to find your medals page and your skill plate page. Now it's kind of buried into someone that already has a strap on them. So it might be a little frustrating to navigate there, but overall, the update as a whole with the next match button, the strap filter, the metal, not only metal bits, but the metal level ups, the new prize wall tab. Very, very solid experience for a lot of the player base for sure. We got to talk about both the 20-hour feud, this current Flash feud, which you're probably seeing gameplay right now of if you're watching this on YouTube, and the recent showdown. Plenty of prize wall related items in regards to all of them. I'm sure that you've seen a little bit of the Jacob Fatu gameplay already. If you haven't, make sure to keep your eyes out for that. I will be using him in just a moment here. He is a fantastic addition to anybody's roster, and the fact that they have made his shards available in the 20-hour feud, in the showdown, in the 20-hour flash feuds, just a huge win. Very interesting to see if we're going to get Zombie CM Punk, what his moves will end up being, if there's going to be a sixth zombie superstar. Overall, this was a very enjoyable round 3 on the Round Table podcast. I want to give a huge shout out. I know he's no longer here at this very moment, but to Mr. Lee Brown, Knight of the Sun, one half of the Champs Chat, for hanging out with us in the first hour there. That was very enjoyable. Hope to have him back on in the future. Hopefully we can get Rusty on the stream as well. And we can give him just a little bit of crap for thinking that Undertaker is a mid-carder. So that one, for those of you that don't know, definitely check out definitely check out their most recent podcast to hear all about that wild take, because that was one of the hottest wrestling takes I have ever heard in my history of being alive. But that will do it for us here. Bunders, thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to having you in the near future as well. I think your insight as a newer player is very appreciated and very warranted for a podcast such as this. Evo, huge thank you as well for joining on in. I definitely always appreciate your insight, and I more than can appreciate the fact that you don't just sign up for being a yes man to everything. I do enjoy the fact that you can go against the grain at times, especially with the Zombie LA Knight takes that I'm sure maybe not everybody is appreciative of or thankful for, but I think they are definitely helpful in a table setting like this. Mr. Sensei Kreese, huge shout out. Finally got the legend himself on the podcast. Honestly, one of the OGs that was around when I very first started this podcast years back. Super glad to have you back on board for sure. And looking forward to you rejoining us in the near future for some more of them. And always, as always, the one supporter of the original Tail Clapper, the OG himself, the living, I don't even know what to call him at this point, but it's Southside,
He is the wise ass to the original Tail Clapper. That's it.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right, well, that's gonna be it for this round, and I will see you all in 2 weeks' time. We're gonna have our 5th week of zombies and the first week of November, which will be a 20-hour feud, from my understanding. So between now and then, we'll have the second half of the current Flash feuds to discuss. We can ask everyone how their Flash feuding experience went. We'll be able to discuss the weekend boss, and we will look into a sneak peek, of the November month next time on the Round Table podcast. Once again, a huge thank you and shout out to everyone that was able to attend, and I will see you all in a couple of weeks.